Hey y'all, it's Leah from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. I am here today in my kitchen to show you how I make a natural, excuse me, insecticidal spray that I'm going to use to spray the inside of the chicken houses. You may have seen a video the other day where I talked a bit about the fact that we have developed a lice problem and all of the steps that we're taking to address that. So this is part of that process, and I will continue filming as I go through and deal with that. So I've got all my supplies here for making the insecticidal spray. I have these 1 gallon containers. These are from distilled white vinegar, which I use often to clean. And I hang on to the containers because they're good thick plastic and they're gallon size and they come in handy periodically. I have here part of a bottle of solution that I previously made and I need to make more. And I've got here my neem oil. This is a 64-ounce container. I bought this on Amazon several years ago for $34. I went and looked up. You can get like a gallon size for $75, but you really don't need that much. And I've had this for quite some time, and I've only used, I don't know, maybe like that much. So I have plenty left. And you're only using 2 tablespoons of neem oil in this solution, so per gallon. So it's not that much. I also have this liquid garlic extract that I found on Amazon. I don't remember what I paid for that, but I've had that around for a while too. And then I've got peppermint oil here, and I've got a new bottle back here. So I just went back and looked, and I paid $19 for this 8-ounce bottle, which has lasted me a good long while. And I do use this for something else, which I'll explain in a minute. And I just have a refill here. This one's actually organic peppermint oil, and this is only 4 ounces. If my camera would focus, thank you. And this apparently costs the same amount, $19, but it does last a while. And this is oregano oil, which I also paid about $19 for 4 ounces. When you work with oregano oil, you want to be a little bit mindful of your skin. Pure oregano on your skin tends to burn your skin, so like if you were going to put it on your skin, you would put it in a carrier oil, but just be mindful of that. And then I also have these spray bottles, which actually is sort of an important piece of this that I'm going to talk about. Not all spray bottles are created equal. You definitely want to get spray bottles that are designed for use with chemicals, because the sprayer nozzles tend to get worn out by various things. Like, the oregano oil kind of tends to burn, so maybe there's an effect on the sprayer nozzle from that. Also, you're dealing with a lot of oil, so that might tend to clog the sprayer nozzles. I have learned my lesson in the past from using cheap spray bottles, and they are just totally not worth it. I bought these Harris bottles on Amazon years ago, and I've gotten a lot of use out of this one, but the sprayer nozzle is, in fact, a goner at this point, so I'm going to dump this into a different bottle. But they were pretty decent for a while. These Master Blasters, I've actually been finding at Walmart. I don't remember how much they are, but they've been working pretty well for a variety of things. You could also get a Zep sprayer bottle. Those are excellent. They're expensive. They're $5 a pop, but as I've learned, it's completely worth it to get the $5 one. Although it seems crazy to pay that much for a spray bottle, but they are worth it. So, very simple. The solution is 2 tablespoons of neem oil per gallon of water. You're also going to add a tablespoon of dish soap. And the reason you add the dish soap is because it acts like an emulsifier. And it helps the neem oil blend in with the water. As you probably know, oil and water doesn't mix very well. Now you can see from this bottle just sitting that there is neem oil sitting on the top of the liquid, but just periodically shake it and it mixes right up. And that's fine. So I do that, and honestly, I don't measure out the garlic, the peppermint, and the oregano. They're all very smelly, and I gotta say they smell really strange together. But it's the aromas coming off of those extracts that repel pests. So I don't think it really matters that much how much you put in. I mean, I put in a generous amount, and I'll show you right before I'm about to put them in about how much room I've got in my bottle and how much I'm going to put in there. But I don't think it matters all that much. I suppose you could certainly look it up on the internet for a recommendation on that amount, but I don't think it's critical by any means. So, I don't have a tripod, so I'm gonna, do some liquid pouring and liquid shuffling, and I will come back in a moment. Okay, so I've emptied the old spray bottle that no longer works into a new spray bottle and filled up the other spray bottle. The reason I have two spray bottles is because I'm going to have a friend and neighbor help me tomorrow, and it would obviously be helpful if we each had a sprayer. And I'm going to make 2 gallons worth because you actually go through quite a lot of this liquid when you spray down a house. So I cleaned out the hen house about 3 weeks ago. I did a very thorough cleaning, including vacuuming, and then I sprayed everything down. And I had been doing this because, as I mentioned previously, we've had a feather mite problem for a long time, and feather mites are very hard to get rid of. But this is slowly, over time, this process has really cut down on the mites pretty dramatically. So I will make 2 full gallons worth. I'm not going to worry about the little bit that's left in the bottom of the first bottle, because if it's a little bit stronger, it's not a problem. It's probably better that way. Oh, I also wanted to mention as well that considering that I just did a thorough cleaning of the hen house 3 weeks ago, it's a very good indication of the fact that when you have a lice problem in your chicken flock, it's not your fault. It's not an issue of cleaning the house or whatever. It's like a wild bird came along that had lice, and somebody just happened to get the lice. The lice jumped off of the wild bird and ended up on a chicken. And then, the chickens lay eggs and get comfortable. The lice lay eggs and get comfortable. And before you know it, you have an infestation. So, despite how you treat your chicken houses, this can happen anyway, but this is also the very good reason to have diatomaceous earth around all the time for the birds, for them to bathe in. As some of our viewers have mentioned, you can also put it in their food and they can eat it, and that can help with internal parasites. Yeah, putting it in the house regularly would help, which is something I haven't been doing. And speaking of internal parasites, I mentioned that I use this peppermint oil as well as this oregano oil for another reason, which is that I have a little mixture of the peppermint and oregano oil that I often put a few drops of this into the chicken's drinking water, and that also helps cut down on internal parasites. I don't do it all the time. I probably should, especially this time of year, so something else to keep in mind that you can do. And it also keeps the water a little bit fresher, I've noticed, which is kind of nice. So, I will get on to making this solution and come back. Something I should mention about the neem oil is that it is very thick, as you can see. It will roll off this tablespoon. But it also will congeal and get really thick if the temperature isn't warm enough. So, right now it's summer and indoor temperatures are pretty stable, and room temperature, this holds just fine. But if this stuff gets cold, it will solidify, and what you want to do then is just take the whole bottle and submerge it into some hot water that you've boiled. Well, you don't have to boil it, but pretty hot water, and let it sit in there for a while, and eventually it will all sort of melt into a liquid again. And if you can store it in a room temperature place, that's the best bet. I have had to reliquefy this again, which is why the label's all screwed up, but just bear that in mind. Oh, and also it smells kind of weird. It smells kind of like peanut butter, kind of, sort of. Strange. Okay, so I have now added the garlic extract, the peppermint oil, and the oregano oil. You can see, because I have not shaken these yet, how much oil is in there. I think I probably added maybe like 1.5 ounces of garlic per bottle. Probably about 1 ounce of peppermint oil and 1/2 ounce of oregano oil per bottle. And I did actually decide to add another half a tablespoon of dish soap to each of these bottles. Because the garlic is itself an oil, as is the oregano and the peppermint, and I just thought, it's probably better to have more emulsifier in there since there is more oil. I think you could do this with a lot less than what I just added, and I think that would probably also be effective. But I am going kind of whole hog here because I really want to get rid of these lice. So I'm just going to add water to fill up these bottles and shake them up, and they will be ready to go for the chicken house cleaning, the spray down portion of the cleaning. One other thing I wanted to mention that I was just thinking about, I mentioned that I add this peppermint oil and oregano oil to the chicken's drinking water, and that a number of our viewers pointed out that you can add diatomaceous earth to their food. They can actually eat it safely if you get the right kind of diatomaceous earth, and I'll talk about that in a second. You need to make sure you get the right kind of diatomaceous earth for working with chickens. You need food grade diatomaceous earth. The other kind of diatomaceous earth is called filter grade. There are two types of particles in diatomaceous earth. One is crystalline and one is amorphous. The crystalline stuff is it's crystalline. It has a crystalline structure, but it can also be very sharp, like glass, which can affect the respiratory tracts of chickens. Food grade only has a teeny tiny percentage of the crystalline silica, and that's why it's safe to use around animals, or for humans for that matter. You don't want to use, a human doesn't want to use diatomaceous earth on themselves either unless it's food grade. Filter grade is used for other things. It has certain industrial uses, and I believe it's used in pools and such. So bear that in mind. If you're going to use DE, make sure you get the right kind to reduce internal parasites. However, I have thought about this in the past, and I've read about this also. I'm a little skeptical that diatomaceous earth in the food actually works. And the reason is because the way diatomaceous earth works is by desiccating insects. It literally just completely dries them out, like almost immediately. But once diatomaceous earth is wet, it no longer has the ability to do that. So, when a chicken eats diatomaceous earth, it's going to get wet just by virtue of the liquids in their own digestive tract. So I'm a little skeptical that works. Certainly, having it in the houses, putting it on their bodies, putting it in their dust bathing holes or a dust bathing container if that's what you use, certainly that makes a big difference. But I don't know that eating it really makes a significant difference. Anyway, just some food for thought. There's lots of schools of thought on that, and I've noticed that people can argue about it until the cows come home. So, tomorrow, like I said again, we will be cleaning the houses, and I will definitely film some of that, and hopefully I will get the video up in a timely manner. All right, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up if you liked the video, and take care.